This is the World Financial Report podcast. My name is Randy Marshall. Joining us is our financial and diamond expert, Harold Siegel. We're taping on November 29th, 2018. Our time is 8:08 Mountain in the morning. I hope everyone had an outstanding Thanksgiving in the United States. It was a very interesting Grey Cup game. We'll talk about that a little bit later. This morning, the numbers. U.S. dollar, 96.85. Canadian dollar, 75.36. The euro, 113, the pound 127, gold at 12.25, silver at 14.30. Gold silver ratio is up there again, very high, 86. Platinum at 8.21. Palladium very close to gold in price. This week it's at 11.73. Gold at 12.25. Will palladium get up there to the point where it's as high as gold or even surpass it? We'll have to wait as the weeks goes on. WTI 51.29, Brent 59.49, Nat Gas 4.58, Bitcoin in US dollars 42.80, Bitcoin in Canadian, 56.79. There was a story this morning that I was reading that Burke's, which is a jewelry store here in Canada, they're starting to accept Bitcoin. So even though Bitcoin has had a pullback, long-term cryptocurrencies do have a future when you have major jewelry chains and other companies starting to accept them here in Canada and the United States. The Dow 25,304, S&P 2734, NASDAQ is at 7265, the TSX 15,171. The Moon of Baroda was sold during the week, and we'll talk about that a little later in the podcast. But the big news of the week, in our opinion, and it was a big flip. Jay Powell, who's the head of the Federal Reserve in the United States, the Fed had said that in 2019, they were going to be raising rates more than likely 3 or 4 times. The expectation was there would be a rate increase in December. The Fed rate right now is 2 to 2.25%. Powell was giving a speech and came out and completely backtracked. He said that interest rates are just below the so-called neutral range. You saw a big run-up in the stock market as a result Wednesday. That, Harold, is a big change from what was said before. In fact, Jim Cramer said Powell blinked. Very big change in view from the Fed chief. Fed also warns that there's a particularly large plunge in market prices possible if risks materialize. And they're talking about trade tensions, geopolitical, and a buildup in corporate debt. But a major backtrack from the Fed in the United States.
It is, and I don't believe it, to be honest with you, at all. And I really don't think that the market's going to believe it. You know, when the news came out, obviously it was good news for the Dow, and it jumped up. But the Dow opened up 100 points this morning and is now negative on the day. So I don't know if the market really believes it. How do you change, from one stance to another, from one week to another? Nothing has changed in the economy to say that inflation is not a problem anymore. In fact, they hardly came out with the inflation numbers this week. So I don't believe anything that they're saying at this time. I believe that there was a lot of pressure on the Fed to come out and do something like that because the Dow was becoming so volatile, and it's not something that Trump wanted at this particular point. So what happened was they came out with that comment, and gold was down on the day, and all of a sudden gold jumped $18 from the low to the high, just to show you how quickly a market can react to news and change its position. On top of that, the U.S. dollar fell, which is why gold jumped up so much, and the stock market rallied. But now you got a situation where the Dow opened up strong this morning. It's down right now, so I don't know for a fact that the market is really buying that we're not going to see any more interest rate hikes. In fact, I don't see how we're not. Inflation is 100% there. That's the reason they raised interest rates in the first place. That's why they came out and said that they were going to continue to raise interest rates into 2019 at least 3 or 4 more times. So to do a flip-flop like that only tells me that there was pressure from the president to put pressure on the Fed, and that's what happened because nothing changed in the market that would have warranted not raising interest rates. So I'm not buying it, Randy.
I'm not buying it either. It was a big surprise on some level that the Fed did not stay the course. Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Rarecoloreddiamonds.com is his website. The podcast, the companion to it, is our free weekly newsletter. You can get it from Harold. We'll be happy to send it out to you via email, free of charge, every week. Venezuela is said to have told the IMF that inflation hit 860% last year. That is a massive number. Can you imagine living in that society? People are starving to death, really struggling to find any daily essentials. We're talking about toilet paper, condoms, things like that. And yet, in the United States, the thing that I find completely amazing, you have some political candidates who are advocating for socialism. And yet all you have to do is look down to some of these socialist countries like Venezuela, and you can see the disaster that it has turned out to be. Now, I understand capitalism has its challenges, and it's not 100% perfect, but Harold, take a look at socialism, 860% inflation. That is just devastating to a country's economy.
You better believe it. And you're talking about a country that is rich. You're talking about a country that's rich in oil, gold, and diamonds. So, the fact is they shouldn't be in this problem that they're in. However, greed and dictatorship in that country has been going on for forever. So it doesn't shock me. But, the fact is that socialism doesn't work in that area because the country cannot take care of every citizen. And the fact is nobody's making any money. Nobody's paying any taxes. Nobody's spending any money because they don't have it. So the way things are going at this point, Venezuela is done. I mean, I don't know how in the world it's going to survive when my partners are from Venezuela, and I hear every day what's going on there because there's still a family that's living there. But most people are leaving and going to Colombia or other South American countries because they cannot exist in that country. Again, a country that is very wealthy in natural resources, diamonds, gold, and oil. They should not be having this problem. But again, almost 1,000% inflation. That is just an unbelievable number. And the feeling in the United States is that if the Democrats would have gotten in the last time, we would have had similar situations because the Democrats are all about taking care of everybody and charging the wealthy and taxing everybody so people don't have to work and they can live off the government. We know that doesn't work. They've proven it in every South American country. Why in the world would they think in a country like the U.S. that would actually work? So it's just an unbelievable time. Again, I'm close to Venezuela because of relationships, and it's a very sad situation to see that people have to live like that. The other major story in the United States at this point here is the people that are trying to come through Mexico and get into the United States. And on one hand, you got to respect somebody like let's say the father of these families, the husband of the families, that picks up his family with no money, leaves everything behind, and walks or gets however they can possibly get there. It's a caravan, basically. Try to do the right thing and try to support his family in another country. But the other side of it is, the United States doesn't necessarily want all of these people that have absolutely no money and can't contribute that much to the economy in the United States. So you've got a real catch-22 there. It's on the news every day about the caravan that's trying to get in, and it's a very sad thing because the other day, Ivanka Trump, President Trump's daughter, posted a picture of her son fishing. Just a picture of him fishing and having a nice day. And the whole media blows up about her father who's not allowing kids and their parents into the country, but here's your child enjoy. I mean, it becomes ridiculous when you make that type of, comparison type of thing. But there's a lot of that going on in this country at this point, and it's very sad to see that people have to, resort to that to pick up everything. leave their country that they were born, take their family to a strange country and try to, make a life elsewhere. It's a very difficult thing to do at this day and age. It was a lot simpler when our parents and grandparents did it many years back. But today, especially with a president like Trump, that's just not going to fly in the United States.
And I agree that it is sad to see the situation at the border in the United States, but there are laws in place where you have to go through a process to come into a country, and the laws need to be followed and upheld, or, as they were saying on 60 Minutes on Sunday, change them, change the laws. But that's the problem. The politicians, once again, are letting the citizenry down in the United States. They're not working together to come up with a new plan that would help the situation. Microsoft became the world's most valuable company. Not too long ago, Apple hit $1 trillion, the market cap. Microsoft surpassed Apple to become the world's most valuable publicly traded company. All it took was a $300 billion rout. Apple stock has been taking a hit as a result of people not buying as many iPhones. Trump, the president of the United States, came out and talked about putting tariffs on Apple products during the week. That did not help matters as well, but most valuable company now is Microsoft. Sad news out of Eastern Canada. GM is going to halt production at several plants, cutting more than 14,000 jobs. That's in the United States and Canada. Canada, we're looking to lose maybe about 2,400 jobs. And the union, obviously the people in government, whether it be provincially or federally, not happy with this announcement. It seems guarantees were made that there would not be any shutdowns. But let's face it, if a company is not making the money or even profitable on certain vehicles, and they're not going to be making 6 different vehicles, if you're at a plant where they're making them, what are you going to do? If the company isn't making a widget anymore and you work at a widget plant, then you're out of a job. You need to go retrain or get another job. That's the sad fact of it. It's terrible to see what's happening in Ontario to these workers, but things are changing, unfortunately. And I don't know necessarily if fighting to keep this plant open is the right thing to do. If you have about 2,400 workers, maybe the best thing to do is just try and retrain them for other jobs. Fighting to keep it open when these cars that were made there just aren't viable anymore. They're not going to be making them. It's a tough question. And here in Alberta, we have lost over the years maybe about 80,000 different jobs in the oil patch. People in Alberta are saying, wow, there was hardly anything mentioned about that on the news, that we lost all these workers. And yet in Ontario, 2,400 workers potentially losing their job, and it's wall-to-wall news. So people in Alberta are more than a little frustrated at the news coverage when it comes to GM versus the oil patch. I just don't know how you keep people in a job if you're not making a product.
Well, you can't. The company's obviously hurting, otherwise they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. I did read a report the other day about the oil patch in Canada and the fact that because oil prices are so low right now, and Trump is praising Saudi Arabia for keeping oil prices low, but in all honesty, Saudi Arabia is not the factor that they used to be. Oil prices are dropping. It's down to 50 and change today. So, the fact is that if a company is not doing well, they're going to have to do what they have to do. And the first thing that they really look to do is to lower expenses by letting go, workers. And to think that this could be happening over the holidays, or at least the word of it coming out over the holidays, it just makes it even worse. It's just a terrible thing that your life should be affected in that manner. But business is tough. Let's face it, business is tough, and there's a lot of competition in the automobile industry, and I'm just very sorry to hear that. I don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Connect with Harold. Learn more about investing in hard assets. RareColoredDiamonds.com is his website. The problem that we have here in Alberta is the oil that we have is at a massive discount to WTI, and they're trying to get that price up. What was suggested yesterday by the Premier of the province of Alberta, Rachel Notley, is go out and buy more capacity for shipping via rail to try and get that differential up. The other thing is cut back the amount of oil that's currently being pumped. We'll have to see how that plays out in the days ahead. As promised, Harold's website is RareColored BrightColorDiamonds.com. We had a sale during the week, Christie's Hong Kong Magnificent Jewel Sale in Hong Kong, China, November 27th, 2018. Also last week, and we added it into our free weekly newsletter again for those that might have missed it, Christie's Magnificent Jewel Sale in Geneva, November 13th, and Sotheby's Magnificent Jewels and Noble Jewel Sale in Geneva, November 15th. So we have 3 different auctions. You can go through and take a look at the results. The big story of the week, we had talked about this on the podcast many times. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. The Moon of Baroda jewel, worn by Marilyn Monroe while she performed the iconic song, sells for $1.3 million at auction. The auction estimate was $500,000 to $600,000. It was sold to a jeweler in Detroit, Michigan in 1953, and more than 35 years later, in 1990, it was sold by Christie's in New York for $297,000. The buyer at the auction has not been revealed, but it is a 24.04 carat Moon of Baroda, the diamond worn by Marilyn Monroe to promote Gentlemen Prefer Blonde. She wore it when she sang Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend, and it was unearthed many, many years ago in an Indian mine. But Harold, the Moon of Baroda, they had expected about 500. It went for 1.3. They were thinking maybe 2 million. I'm a little disappointed because I thought it would go for a lot more than that. When you look at the jewels that were on sale last week, the Marie Antoinette jewels, the estimate on that was around 1 to 2 million. It went for 36 million. So somebody who invested in this has got themselves one heck of a deal.
You know, the only thing is that she didn't own that diamond, obviously. She wore it. So if it was owned by her, it may have gone for a lot more, but the fact is that she wore it. It's sold, you know, it's basically quadrupled or tripled in price since the last time it sold. And I'm sure what it was purchased for was minuscule compared to what it sold for. So still, for that particular diamond to sell for over $1 million was a good price. But again, she only wore it during that movie. She didn't own that diamond.
Now, coming up here, December the 5th, there is a sale, Christie's in New York City, and they have a rare Bulgari Fancy Vivid Blue Diamond ring that they're going to be offering. The estimate on it, they're saying, is about 13 to 18 million. It's an 8.08 carat cushion cut Fancy Vivid Blue mounted on a ring by Bulgari. We will have the price, no doubt, next week.
Vivid blues of size and importance have sold upwards of 4 to 5 million a carat. So that's actually a very good price. If it did sell for that particular price, that's a very good price for a vivid blue, especially, you know, in the Bulgari setting type of thing, which is obviously a famous setting. So it could go for a lot more than that. But if it did sell in that area, it would be selling, in my opinion, you know, for half of what it should really go for.
There was a diamond about a year ago that was sold in New York City. It was a blue diamond, a ring designed by Graf. It went for $12.5 million. Pink diamonds, blue diamonds, doing very well at auction, Harold. We had the Pink Legacy go for a great price. We had news out of Australia that the Argyle Pink Diamond Tender was a record breaker. You throw in the historic piece that was sold last week, Marie Antoinette's jewels, in particular that one pearl that went for $36 million. And then we had the Patek Philippe watches going for $3.9 and $3.2 million. King painting went for $90 million. Hard assets right now are red hot.
You bet they are, Randy. That's really so true. The prices that are being realized for these pieces are astronomical. But the investors believe that they're getting good value for the money, otherwise they wouldn't buy it. So this is a very exciting time. Where the markets are very volatile, the stock markets are volatile, the commodity markets are volatile, the entire financial world right now is on alert. Everybody's nervous. When the Dow falls, people get very, very nervous. You know, when does the big money come out of the market? You know, why did the Fed all of a sudden change its stance? Was it pressure from the government? What is the reasoning, you know, why these things are happening? But with all the risk in the financial paper markets, and don't forget these markets are all paper, the real money is being made in the hard asset market, in diamonds, in art, in classic cars, in those type of assets That's where the big money is. And on the show, we've recently spoken about some of the most famous and dazzling diamonds that have gone to auction. But in those same auctions, there are many diamonds that have been sold that did far better percentage-wise than the big expensive diamonds. What we found is the diamonds that are in the $80, $100, $200,000 range, can double and triple those prices. Whereas obviously, if a diamond is selling for $50 million, there's only a handful of people in the world that could buy something like that. So, again, we're very excited about what's happening in the hard asset market. We plan on having our blockchain sales coming up very, very soon. We're hoping for them around the end of December, beginning of January. It's just a massive undertaking because it's just such a new project for us type of thing. But all of our clients that want to sell their diamonds will be able to put them up on the blockchain for a specific price. Not that they're going to be bid on like an auction. It's actually going to be if the diamond is worth $50,000 and that's what the client wants for it, that's what we're going to put it up for sale for. And we could either have one buyer that would buy it or numerous buyers, because with a blockchain, you could have shared ownership. And that to me is one of the most exciting things about what's happening in the marketing of high-end hard assets like diamonds, like art, like classic cars. A friend of mine owns a $150 million collection of classic Bentleys and Rolls Royces. He wants to sell those on a blockchain. 90 million. The beautiful thing about this, let's say, for example, we put up one of Elizabeth Taylor's pieces on our blockchain. Now, either one person could buy the entire piece, or many people can invest in it in a shared ownership. I mean, just the pride of ownership, just the bragging rights to say that I own a piece of Elizabeth Taylor's or some famous movie star's, diamond necklace is an exciting thing for most people. Now, they may only have 10,000 or 20,000 or 5,000 invested in it, but they're still a partner in the sale. And that's the beautiful thing about the blockchain technology. And that's what's coming up like very, very soon. Been working extra hard on it. We have a lot of clients out there that are looking to sell diamonds either now or by 2020, 22 when the Argyle mine closes. So this blockchain is a way of the future that is here today, and we will literally be one of the first companies that will be utilizing this technology, and we're very excited about it. We think our clients are going to do tremendously well selling their pieces on blockchain technology, and that's coming up within the next 30 to 45 days.
The Argyle Pink Diamond tender, they believe they may have 2-3 left, and that is it. The mine will shut down in about 2 years, 2020. A scary story out of China. A Chinese researcher claims that he helped make the world's first genetically edited babies, twin girls born this month, whose DNA has been altered with a powerful new tool capable of rewriting the very blueprint of life. On 60 Minutes, there was a woman who had breast cancer in her family, and it passed from mother to daughter, and it was just very tragic because these people ended up either dying or in a position where they had to have mastectomies. They were able to, when this one daughter had a baby, take out the gene that was causing this problem in the family.
Wow, that's amazing.
That is outstanding news. Now, the only problem is we don't know long term what that will mean for people who have these DNA edits done. How will it affect them? But the future is very exciting, scary at the same time. This has happened in China, Harold, and has potential, if done correctly and turns out the way everyone hopes, to really change everyone's life and life expectancy. Because let's face it, if you take out heart disease or cancer or anything that you'd be screened for, you would have the potential to live for many, many more years than is expected.
You better believe it. It's the way of the future is here today. I've been seeing a lot of that also. I saw a show the other day where they're, actually, through the DNA, which is so interesting and exciting to see what they're actually doing this, to go back and bring back that woolly mammoth type of thing. So a lot is going to be done. We're living in a totally different time. It's exciting, but as you said, concerning and frightening at the same time. But it's happening, And I think and we know it's going to change the world. Just to be able to go back and take that gene out, and all of a sudden that isn't an issue for that family anymore, is just incredible to think that they can actually do that. It's just exciting as can be.
I would love to see them, and I've seen these same stories Harold's talking about, where they want to go back, take DNA from a dinosaur, create a dinosaur. That excites me. The only problem is, what the heck do you do with the dinosaur once you've got this massive
Exactly.
dinosaur? Suddenly you've got Jurassic Park, and they're running all over the world terrorizing us. So it's a bit of a catch-22.
And where do they place it? Like, for example, with I think it was the woolly mammoth or whatever.
Right.
It was just massive. They would have to implant it in an elephant or something along that lines. But how exciting to think that could actually, not only can it be done, it will be done. So just very, very thrilling to know that this technology is available today and that people are going to live that much longer. Now, that's going to create other problems. The longer you live, you don't want to outlive your money. So, there's good and bad to those situations.
The Grey Cup game, Calgary, after 2 misses, got it done. They beat Ottawa in the Grey Cup game here in Edmonton, 27-16. Now, 50-50 here in Edmonton is legendary, whether it be an Oilers game, an Eskimos game. We've had some monster 50-50s. There was an Eskimo season ticket holder at the Grey Cup that walked away with $302,907.50. Here in Alberta, we are gamblers. There's no denying that. By the way, that $60 million that was won on Lotto Max about a month ago, no one has come forward yet. So if you haven't checked your tickets, definitely check your ticket. The winning ticket was in Edmonton. Before we end the podcast, Harold, give us an update on Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson, what your thoughts were on that pay-per-view Friday.
Okay, well, I did order the pay-per-view and was very excited to watch it. Tiger's my favorite by far. This wouldn't happen, a match between Tiger and Phil, if it wasn't for Tiger. But they didn't play well. It was disappointing in the fact that neither one of them played well. Tiger ended up losing. He should have won it on the 18th hole. He had an 8-foot putt to win and he missed it. Didn't even hit the hole. Then it went into double overtime and Phil ended up winning $9 million. There were side bets, but it wasn't anything that thrilling. Tiger lost, I think, $600,000 that went to Phil's charities. So all in all, Phil won $9 million. Tiger lost $600,000. But what they haven't told us yet is how much of the pot of the pay-per-view that these two guys are going to get. Now, if I was Tiger, and I know the way this guy negotiates, he would probably get 60-40 or 75-25 of that pot. Now, you've got to think that at $20 a piece to rent it or to buy the pay-per-view, if there was 5 million people around the world that watched it, you're talking, a sizable purse in which obviously the networks get their share, but a lot of that is divided up between Tiger and Phil. So the $9 million was one thing. The $600,000 that Tiger lost is another thing. But I'm pretty sure that Tiger is going to walk away from this thing with at least $20-25 million. So, I don't think that they're going to do this again because I really think it cheapens the game. And, at a time when a lot of people aren't doing very well, to see somebody win $9 million in 4 hours by playing a game doesn't sit well with an awful lot of people. Myself, I would think that it was a good format. I'd like to see Tiger play some of the young guys, as he gets his game stronger and stronger. So all in all, I did watch it. It was enjoyable, but neither one of them played to the level that we thought that they would.
AT&T, they're affiliated with Turner Television. The president, David Levy, said that he considered it a huge success for the platform that it was on. It worked extremely well as a pay-per-view. I believe they paid around $10 million for the right to air it, but I would not be surprised to see more of that in the future. Golf coach Tiger Woods is coming into your living room next year. Tiger will begin producing weekly golf instruction videos shows and give fans a glimpse into his life on the PGA Tour as part of a new partnership with Discovery's Golf TV. And Tiger said that sharing his knowledge of the game through training videos was his way of giving back to people who share his love for the game. But Tiger Woods is going to be helping out the average everyday golfer via instructional videos. And I would imagine that, Harold, you might be one of those people that is keeping an eye on making your golf game a little bit better.
Always trying to. It's a difficult game to be good at. So do enjoy it, though.
In closing, Harold, any final thoughts?
Yeah, watch the gold market. Again, if they don't raise interest rates, then the dollar is going to weaken a bit and gold is going to rally. If gold is to rally above 1240, the next major level for gold is around 1260 to 1265. That's about $40 from now. So again, there are certain scenarios in the market where gold is trading in a range at this point. There are opportunities for it to break out. And the fact is that just remember this, on the low side, it's $1,050 support. On the high side, it's 1380 resistance that we'd have to see two closes above 1380 in order for gold to take off and possibly retest that $1,900 level. Now, where the markets are right now is trading in a range. Could gold ever rally to 2,000 or higher? It 100% can and more than likely will. But at this particular point, what we need to see is the U.S. dollar to fall and certain other scenarios to happen. Trump being ousted as president would be one of those scenarios that could really rally the gold market. So again, we're watching gold at this point. 1,050, the dollar would have to skyrocket and break well above 105 in order for gold to drop to $1,050. And I just don't see that happening at this particular point. But if the Fed is not going to raise rates, and if they're going to, stand still for this particular point, then I think that we could see gold rally because the dollar is not going to rally that strong, and we could see a breakout. So continue to listen to the show. We would love to catch the next trend in gold. We caught the biggest trend, the biggest bull market of all time in 2000 when gold went from 250 to 19 and change. There will be another rally in gold. It's just a matter of when. And again, on this show, where we have made recommendations in the past that have been tremendously successful, I'm not going to recommend something to you if I don't see the potential of it happening fairly quickly. So obviously we monitor the hard asset market very closely. We monitor the gold market very closely. However, there's got to be some very severe situations in the market happening in order for us to put out the buy signal in gold. And one of the major things would be the U.S. dollar falling and gold breaking above 1380. That, to me, would signal the next major breakout in gold. So continue to listen to the show. We're here to answer any calls for you. Listen to the show for further information on our blockchain, which will be coming up very soon. And that's something that a lot of people will want to watch because, again, it's the future here today, and I think it's the most exciting way to market. So I want to wish everybody a wonderful weekend and a very profitable day.
Connect with Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. Get our free weekly newsletter, the companion to the podcast. The big news, as Jim Cramer was saying, Powell blinked on rates. Very big change in view from the Fed chief. They're saying they're near normal. Fed Chairman Powell sees the global slowdown and knows it could hurt us, says Jim Cramer from CNBC in a tweet storm. Powell made rookie calls in October and the market plunged. Now he's done his homework and has changed his mind. So it looks like they are just below neutral. What will happen in Canada? They will follow the Fed without a doubt. The other big news, the Moon of Baroda, that was sold during the week for $1.3 million. Get all the information in our free weekly newsletter via Harold at rarecoloreddiamonds.com. That's it. Another edition of the World Financial Report podcast. My name is Randy Marshall for Harold Siegel. We will talk to you next week.